So my name is Lorente, and my project is on the ethics surrounding human germline editing, or HGE. So first of all, human germline editing is a process where researchers basically take a human sperm or egg cell, and they alter the germ cells of it. And the whole idea behind it is that they edit specific genes that may be negative or life altering, and it's something that's hereditary. So if you alter the gene of this specific egg or sperm cell, then it's something that's passed down to future generations. It is considered a controversial practice, but it is relatively new as well. It's outlawed by more than 70 countries, so it's something pretty significant. So some history about the practice. The first time it ever occurred, I mean, there was ideas about that surrounding the process of editing a sperm or egg cell so that you could alter the genes that be passed down. But in 2015, Junji Huang was the first person to successfully use the gene editing tool known as CRISPR on human embryos. And a lot of attention was brought to this. A lot of people thought it was pretty unethical. People don't know where he sourced his products from, like the sperm or egg cells. No one, a lot of people were kind of against it. I will say a lot of outrage came from the Western science world, and the West often has a very critical perspective of the way the East conducts a lot of science. So there may be some sort of bias there, but also considering nothing like this has ever been done before, it's also reasonable to kind of be like, whoa, this is pretty serious. How did this happen? And so on. Here's some more perspective on the controversy. So, like I said earlier, debate surrounding the idea of genome editing has existed for a while, since the 1970s. But with the introduction of CRISPR, this process has become a reality. And as far as people that are in bioethics fields, a lot of them do not feel like human genome editing is a practice that should be exercised. And I agree with them for the most part, but I do think researching the topic is of value. So here's some pros and cons of the practice. Some pros are the prevention of genetic degenerative diseases, such as something like cystic fibrosis or sickle cell. Potential of enhancing traits. This one is a little, I really wouldn't say it's a pro, because I feel like it's kind of, once you start using something like human germline editing to enhance traits, it kind of defeats the purpose, because you're technically bettering the lives, but you're not saving lives of individuals. The researching it can also enhance our previous understanding of how human embryos develop. And lastly, we can create disease models. So learning about why these certain genes cause diseases in offspring gives us an understanding of how to create a model and how to prevent it moving forward. Now the cons, there's a lot of cons to the potential use of this practice. Biggest one is probably if it's ever introduced into the market, right? in my opinion, this should never be commercialized. It should be purely for the sake of research. Next is, it's important to recognize that any changes that are made to the germline, they're heritable. So future generations will be affected. And this is a problem because there's the possibility of mosacism. And it causes children to have a combination of both natural and gene-edited cells. And this can lead to health problems, mutations, and can basically affect long-term health. And of course, it's a new piece of technology. So like any new piece of technology, there's going to be criticism, and it's going to be something hard for the public to understand. Some of my personal opinions about the practice of HGE. I think there's a lot of opportunities in researching it, but it's a relatively new practice, so there are a lot of safety concerns. However, I do feel as if these safety concerns that people have, such as where are they sourcing the sperm or egg cells from, what type of equipment is being used, these will never be changed if it's continued to be misunderstood and the practice is looked down upon by the rest of the world. I will say public fear of human germline editing is very understandable. I myself wouldn't even say I'm in support of it being a practice that's used for patients. However, I do think it's something important, and researching it is not a negative thing. It can help us better understand why certain genes cause disease, and how how those diseases affect future generations, right? And I will say, if the practice was more research were to be done on it. I mean, it's only about 10 years old right now. Then at some point in time, it could be used. For example, a good example is progeria, which is a disease that's passed down. It's heritable, but it's passed on by a recessive gene. And progeria is extremely life-altering. It causes basically a child to age far more rapidly than they would normally. So most people born with progeria do not live very long. Usually not past how long a teenager would live. And being able to utilize something like germline editing, if someone knows that they carry the gene that causes progeria, we could edit the sperm or egg cell that causes that, so that your child wouldn't be born with something like progeria. But it's very controversial, and it's not even necessarily something I support. It's more so something I find kind of interesting. Here's some ways of potentially introducing human germline into society, germline editing. Before anything, more research has to be done so that the safety procedures are more straightforward. People have it's never gonna work if the people that are practicing it don't have very strict safety procedures in place. Embryos or the sperm or egg cells should only come from a consensual donor, and information regarding the usage of them should be clearly stated to who's ever donating them. Practice outside of research, so using it for just like people outside of research should only be for the prevention of life-altering diseases. It should never involve healthy sperm or egg cells, because I truly believe that the enhancement of physical or mental traits does not better science or research in any way. I understand it's an interesting idea to create like a superhuman, but I think it's extremely inhumane, and it does nothing to better science. And I feel like if something like that were to exist, it would very quickly become commercialized, and people who position themselves in the highest of wealth brackets could potentially create like human beings that are somehow more capable than others. So yeah. In conclusion, I do believe that the practice of human germline is human germline editing is pretty misunderstood. Um, Both sides that situate themselves around the topic either completely are in complete support of it, of or sorry, are in complete support of research of it, and the other sides are like completely against it. I feel like the side that's completely against the idea of even conducting research on it, not just practice, but conducting research, um, a lot of their values are rooted in religion, and I don't think they necessarily are looking at it from a scientific perspective. And the people that largely support the research or even the practice of it, um, I feel like they have sort of distanced themselves from sort of some ethics that are very crucial to humanity. So it's sort of a slippery slope. I feel as if there's not really a middle ground that's been present, um, which is why, in short, my whole opinion about the issue is that I think it's something that deserves research because I do think it could benefit humanity in some ways, but I think the practice of it is largely inhumane. Um, Even in situations where it could prevent a life-altering disease, something like that can lead to the potential commercialization of germline editing, which is why at this time I believe only research should be conducted rather than the usage of or it becoming a general practice and something that like parents or people can use. It should strictly be for research purposes. But yeah, that's my works cited. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you.